Allô, Nissan? Hey, grosse tempête, hein?
Hey, Karine, oui, je sais, les vilains bonhommes de neige sont de retour.
Mais avec le Nissan Rogue à traction intégrale, c'est pas stressant.
Exact, il est conçu et testé pour nos hivers. Oh, Karine, il y a un bonhomme dans le Rogue.
Ah, c'est correct. J'ai allumé les sièges chauffants.
Ah, bien joué, Karine. Maîtrisez toutes les conditions. Louez le Rogue S 2026 à partir de 0,4% jusqu'à 36 mois, incluant une réduction fidélité de 0,5% pour les clients Nissan admissibles. Jusqu'au 2 mars, sur approbation de crédit, les conditions s'appliquent. Détails chez Nissan.
Good morning, I'm Dave Kaufman. You can follow me on Twitter at The Kaufman Show. I'll be in all week long for Elias. It was Emancipation Day in the British Empire this weekend. That's right, slavery was not just an American thing. It was worldwide. It was right here in Montreal, and part of the celebrations was a protest and a call to rebuild the historic NCC in Little Burgundy. There was a march that took place this weekend. It went from City Hall to the site of the NCC. Let's bring in Professor Stephen High. He's a professor in the Department of History at Concordia and an expert in slavery and racism in the empire. Professor High, thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks, Dave.
So the NCC, the Negro Community Center in Montreal, this is a site that used to be of extreme historic significance to Montreal's Black community, right?
Hugely. It was the hub of Black Montreal from 1926 until the 1990s. It basically dealt with virtually every part of life, right? When you were a child, you went to after school there, you would play sports there, you went to music lessons or dance lessons, and all the way up until your old age. So it was a hugely important place for English-speaking Black Montrealers.
So there's a petition to rebuild it, but also they would need to purchase it, right? There's somebody else that owns this site now.
Yeah, so they moved into that site in 1955. It's sort of an interesting story. Like before 1955, the NCC was actually within Union United Church, which is one of the oldest Black congregations in Canada. And in 1955, the NCC merged with the old Iverly Center, which was a white Irish organization. So it was actually a biracial organization, the NCC, for a little while. So it's integration, but integration into a Black center. But unfortunately, by the late 1980s, because of urban renewal and the dispersal of sort of the historic Black community and the building of the highway, the NCC's membership was in decline, and so eventually they couldn't afford to keep up the building, and so the building was abandoned from about 1989 until 2014 when they demolished the building. When the NCC officially went bankrupt and lost the land itself.
How do you get a developer to sell this if they don't want to sell it?
Well, we talk a lot about heritage, right, in Quebec and around the world, and about sites that have significance. And I can't think of a more important site for not only Black Montreal, but for a city as multicultural and as diverse as Montreal is. Here we have a historic Black community that goes way back in time, a very important community, not just within Canada, but within North America. Of course, you have Oscar Peterson learning how to play the piano within the walls of the NCC. There's all kinds of connections between, Little Burgundy and Harlem, what's happening in the United States. And so young people, when they played sports there, they would win. They would play in the Martin Luther King basketball tournament. If you're the best female athlete, you get the Malcolm X trophy. Most sportsman-like player would get the Marcus Garvey trophy. So it's a place where Black people found support and respect in a context where there was still a lot of anti-Black racism here in Montreal.
Well, and we still see that today, Professor High. I don't think that, we've spent a lot of time this summer talking about, and even, you mentioned Oscar Peterson, but the revival of the conversation about renaming something significant, such as Lionel Grew Metro, after Oscar Peterson, that seemed to have picked up steam again.
Yeah, no, it's significant that if you look at all the metro stations. Like who gets honored by having streets or metro stations named after them? It's usually people who are tied to sort of a Quebec national history, which are usually white. And here we have people. Montreal was a diverse place for a long time, and there's history here. And the NCC space, if you go by there today, it's a fenced. It's not only an empty lot, but the rubble is still there from that building, and so it's a place of huge significance. So I really hope that this latest effort to rebuild that center as a museum or as a place to learn about this history actually succeeds.
Professor High, and we're finishing up Professor Stephen High, Concordia University, talking about the NCC. Would another site suffice? Would there be a commitment from all three levels of government to build a new site and maintain these traditions, but somewhere else? Do you think that the community would be okay with that?
Well, I think you'd have to ask the community about that one. Certainly the NCC, is in a way a sacred site for Black Montrealers. It's a place where the community came together, where they fought the struggles that needed to be fought, that they came together for sport and for pleasure and all these things. But there are other places in Little Burgundy, for example. There's the Universal Negro Improvement Association, has a hall. There's other places nearby. But I don't think any place is quite as significant as the NCC, and so I think it's a very appropriate place to focus the energy.
Stephen High, professor in the Department of History at Concordia University, thank you so much for your time today.
Oh, thank you.